So a couple days ago, Terence Crawford went on Twitter, or backtrack. The WBC, first off, they stripped Terence Crawford of the WBC title, apparently because he didn't pay sanction and fees, you know, some BS like that or whatever. Um, and this is, I was up when I heard this news. The WBC was doing a convention in Thailand, I believe. Lance Pugmere. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. I'm just gonna call him Lance. But Lance put out this tweet. The WBC has stripped the WBC super middleweight belt from Terence Crawford for non-payment of sanction and fees. And I don't have the tweet up here, but they then decided that, or I'll get back to that later. Actually, I do have that tweet up. But anyways, Terence Crawford then the next day was tweeting out a bunch of stuff. This is one of the tweets he was saying, but it was talking about a bunch of other BS. But this is about Mauricio Suleiman. He said, "Let's make things clear. I never agreed to anything with Mauricio Suleiman on anything, nor my team. So stop the cap with that narrative. I've always been a man of my word." What the hell is this dude talking about? So Terence Crawford would go on and make an IG video, a long IG video. It was about like 3 minutes long, I believe. Pretty much talking his side of the story because Mauricio Suleiman was then on video saying how Terence Crawford is ungrateful. I didn't watch the full videos because I couldn't be asked, but he was saying like that Terence Crawford didn't even say thank you or whatever, some petty shit like that. And you know what? Despite the point of this video, these sanctioning bodies, WBC, they have a lot of problems with them. And before I get to the main point, like I would say leading up to here, Mauricio Suleiman and the WBC made no, they didn't make any goodwill leading up to here, all right, because they were trashing their own image, honestly. And because of that, when Terence Crawford did this, it made the fans, or I should say the fanboys, side with Crawford more here. Um, but they're not really seeing the bigger picture, in my opinion. In my opinion, there's a whole bigger picture to this, and a lot of people are waking up to it. You know, um, I have a few of my friends put out a couple tweets about it, and I've seen a couple of people on Twitter are talking about it as well, which inspired me to make this. These are the stuff that intrigue me, that interest me. So that 3 minute long video that Crawford was putting out about the WBC and Marisa Suleiman, yeah, sure, he was talking some facts. What interested me the most in that video was this quote that Crawford said. He said, "Turkey, I hope y'all get that done." Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, first here's a picture of Terence Crawford in Turkey. Terence Crawford and Turkey are definitely very close. Um, People say guys like Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua are Turkey's favorite fighters. No, this man right here is Turkey's favorite fighter, Terence Crawford, for sure. Turkey, one of the main guys that Turkey wanted was Terence Crawford. He made a whole show with him, and he built him up to get this Canelo fight for him. Turkey has been in Crawford's side this whole time, and to Terence Crawford, he believes he's powerful because of Turkey, because he has Turkey on his side. It was super weird too in that video because at the end of the video, Terence Crawford was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a turkey burger," like really hammering it home that he loves Turkey. He loves his man Turkey. Now, what is Turkey planning to do? What do we know? What is supposed to come up in 2026? Well, Dana White's boxing league, Zuffa Boxing. This is the boxing promotion that really, if you go up the scales, up the ladder, Turkey will be owning it. Dana White will be the promoter. Now, what is the title that they're promoting the most? The ring title. The ring title, they have their own rankings. And who owns the rankings? Well, I mean, look at look who's next to Terence Crawford right there. I find it very coincidence, or very funny, I should say, that while this was all happening today, as I'm making this video, um, there was a hearing for the Muhammad Ali Act over in I think it was California or so. Changes. Nick Khan, the president of the WWE, talking about these sanctioning bodies as well. This is like, isn't it how funny how this is all coming out at once? Boom, 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 boom. It's a orchestrated attack, because it is. Quite frankly, it is. This is how they do changes, because you can't make a change straight off the bat. People are not going to accept it. What you have to do is you have to program the people's minds to accept the change. I mean, like, what an example, freaking, you couldn't just bring in the Patriot Act. You had to make the people believe that the Patriot Act was the right solution. You know, for here, one belt system, this whole suit for boxing thing, the changes that they were gonna make, they couldn't just do. They couldn't just slap in your face and accept you to want it. They have to slowly bring it in, make a problem, which the people will then rise up to it, and then believe that, oh, a one belt system, the Sufa Boxing League is gonna be the problem, or gonna be the solution to this problem. They're making an artificial problem to this. Because what was it? So Terence Crawford not paying his sanction fees is being seen as a hero. He's being seen as a hero for not paying his sanction fees. I have a fanboy, one of his tweets in here, claiming that Terence Crawford is some type of hero, even though what is he doing? Not paying a sanction fee. He made $50 million apparently against Canelo, and he can't pay, like, what was it, 300,000? What's the difference between that and what Dana White um does, which when he strips titles away from opponents or from his fighters? That's all that the MMA people are also coming in and being like, oh, in boxing, you have to pay for your title. All right, well, in UFC, you're getting peanuts. And the UFC, Dana White can strip you of that title anytime he wants. Was it Tom Aspinall? Apparently, he hasn't gotten any call from Dana White ever since his fight, like 2 weeks ago or so. This is the Dana White is apparently, but now I'm the saver for boxing. This guy that Turkey wants to bring in. This has been a plan for a long time. They've been wanting to slowly bring this in. They just needed the right opportunity and the right moment to do so. And this is the right moment. Because Terence Crawford has now made his fanboys believe that he's some type of hero. And now everyone in the boxing world is talking about how sanctioning fees are pointless and how we should get rid of every major sanctioning body championship. I mean, let's look at the examples here. William Skull and Canelo. Look at the back. Just look at the background. All the sanctioning bodies, WBC, IBF, they were promoting the undisputed championship. So they're showing off all the titles there. This is what they always do. They put up all the titles up in the air. Now compare that to Terence Crawford versus Canelo. Where's all the belts? There's only one belt that's in the middle of them. The ring title. This has been an orchestrated plan from the very beginning. They wanted to go from this to this. Alright. And you can say, oh, I prefer this to that. However, with this, we're gonna get a bunch of other BS. So what the ring title is the number one and number two guy facing each facing off each other. Now, who determines who the number one and number two guy is? It's not the people. It's the people who make the rankings, aka Turkey, aka the people Turkey has uh, under contract. Guys that are in that ranking panel. Like, who's to say they're gonna have some bump that they raise to the top as the number one and number two in the division? You know, while there's guys that aren't signed to TKO boxing, fighting elsewhere who are clearly better, but they can't be in the rankings because they're not part of, Turkey's side of boxing. Oh yeah, here we go. He's a fanboy. Protect this man. Terence Bud Crawford could single-handedly start a movement in boxing. Get rid of the sanctioning body's corruption. Again, protect this man. This dude under construction is one of the biggest dummies in boxing Twitter. He knows nothing about boxing. How is Terence Crawford single-handedly starting a movement? What movement is he starting? What movement is Terence Crawford starting? This is Turkey's movement. This isn't all right. Like, don't get it twisted. This isn't Terence Crawford starting the movement. This is Turkey, uh, Dana White's Zuffa boxing. This is them starting the movement. This is what they want. They don't want sanctioning bodies. They don't. So Terence Crawford did them a favor from doing this. Now, do I think Turkey told Crawford to do it? I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, I don't have the picture up here, but we seen Crawford and Turkey holding hands. Uh, Turkey has been in Crawford's ear this whole time, and remember, Crawford doesn't have a promoter. Crawford is basically his own man in terms of boxing. But every boxer, it doesn't matter who you are, there's gonna be someone who's controlling you. So who's controlling Crawford? I mean, it's gotta be Turkey. It's gotta be Turkey who's in his ear, telling him to, oh yeah, throw away the WBC title, cause this is what we want. We don't want these shaking bodies. And it's not like the WBC hasn't been beefing with Turkey already. They have. What was it? I think for Canelo and Crawford, leading up to the fight, Mauricio Suleiman was like, I don't care what anyone says or what anyone does, I will be in that ring holding up the WBC title. Because it was like rumored that Turkey was not going to allow any other belts in the ring. But Mauricio Suleiman was the first to say, "Oh no, I don't care. I'm gonna be in that ring no matter what." And I believe there was other stuff. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. But there's been beef already between Terence or WBC, Turkey, and such, and even with all these other sanctioning bodies, with these sanctioning bodies mandating mandatories. I'm sure Turkey isn't gonna like if Terence Crawford has a title and then, like, I don't know, the WBO, let's just say for example, and then the WBO will be like, oh, Terence Crawford, you gotta fight this guy, but Turkey already has a fight with Crawford. Turkey's not gonna like that. They already did it, the WBC actually, when they mandated David Benavidez against Dimitri Bivol, but Turkey, it was a whole thing. Turkey wanted what, Benavidez and Bivol, whole thing. It doesn't really make any sense even till now. Um, oh, look at this picture. This is look how much. Oh, look how much Crawford doesn't like sanctioning bodies. Look at this. As he's proudly wearing his WBO title and holding up the WBO plaques. Look how much Crawford doesn't like these sanctioning bodies. Isn't that crazy? What's funny is though that I mentioned how Turkey how Crawford is Turkey's favorite fighter, Turkey may have another favorite fighter, and this also could play into Turkey's hands again. Two ways. Crawford is hoping Turkey and them by thrashing the WBO, the WBC title, and promoting this one belt system, this run promoter having their own title system, but also getting his other favorite fighter a title with Hamza Shiraz. Hamza Shiraz versus Christian Billy has now been ordered. And as you can see there, Turkey with one of his other favorite fighters. These are his real favorite fighters, alright? Not Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. Crawford and Shiraz are his real favorite fighters here. This is how boxing is run in 2025, 2026, and the next coming year. It's gonna be Turkey running things. he orchestrated this whole thing to get the belt off Crawford. It helps build up this one belt system. Because if you look on Twitter, that's all everyone's talking about, getting rid of these sanctioning bodies and such. Look, and this is what I mean, the WBC did themselves no favors, because in the lead up to this, they had Ryan Garcia fight Mario Barrios for the WBC title, even though Garcia is coming off a loss. They have Conor Benn rated number one, even though Conor Benn hasn't fought at welterweight in about 3 years, 4 years, I think, something crazy like that. They did know and past stuff as well, like letting Canelo duck David Benavidez for like years, letting Charlo become champion for 3 years. Stuff like this is not helping the WBC at all. And Mauricio Suleiman does himself no favors. In my opinion, Mauricio Suleiman should probably not be the WBC president anymore because of these decisions. And if none of these things happened in the lead up to them stripping Crawford, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal in my opinion, or at least the fans wouldn't trash on them. But because all those stuff did happen in the lead up to this, it made the fans not side with the WBC. And now all of them are promoting this one belt system. You feel me? And you got Nick Khan doing interviews promoting it. You got random, people who don't talk about boxing at all. I saw, what was it, Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco on their podcast talk about this. And now they're promoting the one belt system. You can talk about the sanctioning bodies all you want, but there's fighters who will never get big in their careers if it wasn't for these belts. Like who's a fighter? Well, O'Shake Foster. Just a random name that came in my head. You think he's gonna be getting any big fights if it wasn't for a sanctioning body? I don't think so. Just like any random name that you can think of. Like, will they ever get a big fight if it weren't for these sanctioning bodies? No, they would not get it. If there was only one belt in each division, they would be lucky, a miracle, if they were to ever get a chance at that title. And now, coming into the new year, with one title, one promotion, if you're not signed to Zuffa Boxing, good luck trying to get that title. So this is all BS drama that happened last night. It's still carrying over. Really, this is all a nothing burger, but the outcome of this is going to be so much bigger. And we're not going to feel it until next year. So get ready, because it's probably going to change boxing. And who knows if it will be